Hello and welcome to the latest edition of This Racing Life. We have come down to Newmarket to do a little tour of headquarters featuring trainers Henry Spiller, Ben Brookhouse and Kevin Philippart of Foy. And it's to Edgerton House Stables we have come down to first to see the Belgian maestro in action. As you can see behind me, plenty of stallions have graced this wonderful place, including the likes of Abonant and Brigadier Gerard. But it's all about one for the future here in Kevin Philippart of Foy, a man going places very much in the training ranks. Kevin, it is lovely to be here in Edgerton House, the second of your 2 yards. We'll come on to that a little bit later on. First of all, how are you? Because that was a really nasty injury. You had skiing, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I mean, I had it twice, falling off horses. Last time skiing, managed to get it fixed on Friday, so no, we'll be better in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, and hopefully back to normal.
We're back to
not too long.
Back to normal for the summer.
Good man. Let's start by focusing on the beginning of your career. How did you get into racing in the first place? Because I know that your family are involved, aren't they?
Yeah, so my mother was a jockey back in Belgium. She rode a bit in Germany, France and Netherlands. She always tried to keep me away from racing for as long as possible, but obviously when you're a kid, someone is trying to take you away from something, you just try to get back,
yeah,
get back in. So I guess I got back in racing around when I was 16. Got on a massive diet because I decided that I wanted to ride. Rode as an amateur first, and after I rode a bit as a professional, but I was always too heavy and not very good. I started working for Cricket Head in Chantilly back in 2009, I think, 2011. And Cricket was always saying, yes, try to be a jockey, try to have a few rides for the experience, but realistically, don't focus on that and focus on the training career. And then I moved on to John Knox in Ireland for a bit, for a spell with him, and after I had a spell with Christophe Clement in America, who was friend with James Fanshawe. And at the end of my spell in America, Christophe said, "Where would you like to go next?" And I said, "Would probably like to go to Newmarket. It's the art of racing in Europe." So decided to come back to Newmarket. They knew each other, so I started with James, and I had a great spell with James for 5 years. We had some fantastic horses with Speedy Boarding, the Tin Man, Odaya was there when I left as well. And my plan was always to go back to France when I arrived in the UK, but kind of fell in love with English racing, decided to be more involved, and never left really.
Yeah, it's an easy thing to do, to fall in love with English racing. Let's rewind back to Cricket Head, your days with her. Being such a master of French racing for so many years, I imagined you learnt an awful lot.
She was, and she's a great teacher. She was like my second mother. First time away from home, she just looks after you like like her own child. I started as a rider. I ended up being a travelling head lad. I was a head lad for a bit, and she just shows you everything about racing yard. She will take you to the stage. She will send you to Le Canet, who is their stud in Normandy, and she showed me every aspect of racing. And we see French racing is beautiful, and she told me that I had to travel, I had to explore the world. And no, it was a fantastic experience.
And I imagine you would have been there around the same time as one of her most famous horses in Trev. Would that be right?
Yes. So I was lucky enough actually to ride Trev for 2 years.
Wow.
For a 2 and 3 year old career. I was much lighter than I am now, and
so you say you weren't a very good rider, but you were still entrusted with riding Trev. So you must have been quite good.
I was actually, yes. I always say, and I will be the first one to say something like that. A very good rider in the morning is probably an awful jockey, and a very good jockey is probably not the best person to have on in the morning. So I was more a morning guy. But no, she was. I mean, she was a fantastic filly with very electric turn of foot. I remember the first time we took her up the grass on Les Aigles. She was very green, but she had that burst of speed the first time she joined the doors. And I remember looking behind me to see where the leader was. And actually, I thought the leader was 2 or 3 lengths away from me, but the leader was actually 25 lengths away from me. And I was like, wow, something has just happened here. And she actually had only one more piece of work. And we sent her to races. Cricket was like, I've seen enough, let's send her racing. And she won on her only start as a 2-year-old, and she just showed that electric turn of foot at Longchamp on the first start, and yes, she was something special.
And she told you to explore the world, and you did just that by going to America with Christophe Clement.
Yeah.
And there have been quite a few trainers in Newmarket as well that have gone to America and done very well, then come back here and done extremely well, perhaps John Gosden being the most famous of those. How much do you think you learnt from your time in America?
I learned a lot with Christophe, and Christophe was assistant to Luca Cumani in the 1990s. So his training technique is not fully American, it's a kind of a mix between European and American style. And I think I really enjoy my time there, and I think if I was going to America, my training would be very close for me. You will see a lot of things that Christophe does that I would do as well here in Europe. Definitely learned a huge amount with him. Someone with so focused on training winners, and he will remind you about 20 times a day that you're there to win races. And that's, yes, he would be probably the most difficult man I work for, but the most picky, but probably the one I learned the most. And we say a lot of things about American racing, but they look after the horses incredibly well. The attention to detail on the legs and the physical side of the horses is just like, it's second to none. So no, I definitely learned a lot over there.
It didn't take you too long to take the plunge yourself into training, but you did it at one of the most dangerous times possible
Yes.
during lockdown. How was that?
It was different. Everything, yes, it's a project for a couple. Yes, it was a project for a couple of years, for 2 or 3 years, and you just get going and get everything sorted and start with the owners and the horses, and after, yes, you get the support, and you don't want to disappoint people, but at the same time you just open your eyes and look at the world around you, and you're like, is it the right time? But I suppose it's never the right time. That's the bottom line, is it's never the right time. I had the yard. Ed Vaughan was going to America, so I was taking over a Matchel place. I had the owners. We bought some horses at the sales, so I had to just kick on and do it. And I feel when you've got an opportunity in life, you need to grab it, put your head down and work. That's kind of my philosophy anyway.
You made a very fast start to your training career. In the last couple of years, you've started to expand, and now we're in your second yard. So how did that come about? That was last year, wasn't it?
It was last year. We were expanding, and I came to visit Edgerton House, and I always felt that my yard in Newmarket was good, but I could have done with a bit more turnout and a bit more space. We were training for some reason quite a lot of fillies, and I quite like the idea of being able to turn them out and give them a bit more of a relaxing time between races. Edgerton's allows you to have horses in training in the morning and turn them out in the afternoon. So we've got plenty of paddocks, we've got private gallops, and it's much quieter than Warren Hill, for example. But at the same time, we have access to all the grass gallop of the Jockey Club racecourse, between the Jockey Club racecourses. We've got Cambridge Road with 12 furlong on the all weather. So we've got access to everything to train winners, and we showed in the last couple of weeks, especially since the beginning of the year, that it was working well out of here.
And you seem to have brought with you a fantastic team. You've acquired a really supportive and a very well-oiled machine of a team.
Having the team around you, that is ambitious and wants to do well and wants to build up and want to expand. I feel it's kind of, you need an atmosphere in the yard, and if everybody is driven, everybody pulls the same way, you do very good things, and you build it up, and you grow and train winners. Everybody's keen and interested.
And one of the most important members of that team over the past few years for you has been Benoit de la Sayette.
Yeah.
We all know him as a really exciting jockey in the making. How important has he been to your success?
But I mean, his dad works for us, and I knew his dad from working with James Fanshawe. I think his dad is one of the best rider in the morning at settling horses and getting them right, a very good judge of horses. And I think, yes, Benoit has got that finesse in his riding, that he let the horse go in his stride and let the horse get in his rhythm. It's very rare that you see Benoit on a horse who is very keen. He's got that ability to settle them, get them to relax and get them in a rhythm, which is very important. I never tied up Benoit to a lot of instructions. I generally give him an idea I would like the horse to be ridden, but I leave it fairly much to him. And yes, generally apprentices, you just try to give them an idea of how you would like them to be ridden. But yes, with Benoit, it's kind of I'll let you do what you want to be doing basically. And my job is to train the horse. I try to put the horse in the right race and tell them if the horse will be keen or if the horse is a bit one pace or something like that. But after they ride 1,000 races a year, nearly some of them, they know what they are doing, and you don't want to give them two restrictions, and they're paid to do a job. I'm paid to do one job, and they generally ride the races, or they feel they will be. Yes.
And you seem to have become very adept at ascertaining good horses. So when you're at the sales or when you're acquiring horses, what's your philosophy?
Buying a nice athletic horse, having a plan in mind with that horse for the future. You try to buy nice pedigrees, but nice pedigrees are costing more money. So when we have got a decent budget, yes, we will look more at pedigrees and match the pedigree with the physical. But generally, when we started, we were buying on a restricted budget, and just try to buy an athletic horse.
With up-and-coming trainers, it's always nice to get the backing and support of big owners. And I saw that in your other yard, you've got a horse with Shadwell. That must be a big boost for you.
Yes, definitely. Getting the phone call from Anglesgård at the back end of last year was very, very unexpected. Which I remember, like on a Saturday morning, saying, asking me where I was, and I was like, I'm on the gallops. And I was like, why does he want to see me? But no, definitely it's great to have the backing of people like Sheikh Isa, and obviously they're breeding top class horses, and they could potentially bring us to the big meetings and bring us big winners.
I suppose when you get their backing, you know you're doing a good job.
Yeah, so you kind of hope that but it's nice, like it's kind of a reward, like to get the backing of people like that, and obviously after you want to reward them, and it's part of the process of like getting to the top level.
Pour vous, l'avenir, c'est belle.
Exactly. Thanks a lot.
What a pleasure it was to see Kevin Philippart du Foy. Wish him all the best with the forthcoming season. But now we've come to Henry Spiller Racing, another up-and-coming trainer with a burgeoning career at his likely disposal, to talk about his hopes and dreams for the coming season and those horses that might just fly his flag that little bit higher.
Training horses is all I've ever wanted to do, to be honest. From as long as I can remember. I obviously wanted to be a jockey first, but that didn't quite work out. So, no, training is what I've always really wanted to do. So, be involved in the industry. My father was Sheikh Mohammed's pedigree advisor for nearly 30 years, from the mid-80s onwards, early 80s. My mother rode an amateur races. She was secretary for Clive and Maureen Britton. Maureen Britton was my godmother before she passed. Dad worked for Michael Stout previous to that. I think he was Michael's first pupil assistant. Grandparents had point-to-pointers and such like. So no, very much brought up with racing, and yeah. So
the pedigree is definitely there. One thing I did make me laugh after seeing when I read your website is that instead of bedtime stories when you were younger, you got red horse pedigrees. I thought it was really funny.
No, it wasn't quite like that, but no, everything was racing when we were children. Yeah, we're very lucky we grew up at Kildangan Stud and Ragusa Stud in Ireland. Michael and Joe Osborne were very, very good to us. They encouraged us an awful lot, and we were allowed to go racing when Sheikh Mohammed had runners, and allowed into the paddock and full access to the stud. So it was fantastic growing up like that.
Which kind of trainers have helped you along the way, and where did you work before you came here?
So I was very lucky. Parents are friends of the trainer called Jeremy Harley in Ireland, so I was able to go there from my 11th birthday onwards, as school holidays and weekends. And Jeremy was fantastic to me. I had he let me go racing and stuff like that, which was amazing. And then I started with John Ox when I left school. I didn't quite finish school, but I started there full time, and I spent a good amount of time with John. Some fantastic horses there in the day, Alamshire and horses like that, Sindar, and, it was a great place to learn, and, the Oxes were fabulously kind to me.
I've heard that John Ox is one of the great racing tutors. Everyone who's kind of been through his learning camp comes out better the other side.
No, absolutely. I mean, I still look back on stuff that he used to do then. The whole Ox family, Katrina was fabulous, and hell of a lot of good people there at the time. Johnny Murta was stable jockey at the time, now a great trainer in his own right, and a lot of great people were there the years we were there. So
I imagine that kind of grounding really sets you up for a training career, because if you're learning from the best, you can then see how the best do it and try and incorporate that into your methods.
No, exactly. I mean, if anything, I was probably a bit too young when I was there to appreciate everything properly, but it was a hell of a good grounding and a fabulous place to work, and we were treated like family there. It was fantastic.
And you had a little bit of guidance too from Saib bin Sarur, is that right, afterwards?
Yeah, you could say that. 11 years.
That's enough time, isn't it?
I was very lucky to go to Drew Basil-Ratnam first of all in Dubai at Jebel Ali Stables. Willie Supple and Pat Smullen were the stable jockeys there at the time. They were great to me as well. Unfortunately, Drew moved on from Jebel Ali, so I got an opportunity to work for Kieran McLaughlin. Red Stables, Sheikh Hamdan Stables. He was a fantastic trainer, so good at placing horses, and an absolute gentleman as well. And I was lucky enough to be offered to go to Saratoga with him for a summer. His brother Neil was the assistant trainer in Saratoga, and I worked very closely under him, so that was a fabulous experience. And poor Kieran, suffers with MS, which I think obviously curtailed his training career. So he wasn't going back to Dubai that winter, for health and family reasons. And he got me a job with Saib bin Sarur at Godolphin. It was when Owen Harty and David Lauder and Said sort of amalgamated into one. So there was a lot of new people. There was a whole new setup, and it was. And I'm still there 11 years later, so it was fantastic.
So how did it come about that you went from Saib bin Sarur to having your own licence?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, that was always what I wanted to do. So after Said finished, it wasn't viable for him to have horses in Dubai, England, America, and so they scaled down the operation over there, and I was offered a position back here, and once I came back here, that's all I wanted to do was set up on my own. So went about taking the appropriate steps, and here we are. Yeah,
and it's a great place that you managed to get as well, Sackville House. It's a lovely place right in the heart of Newmarket and next to Warren Hill, of course.
No, absolutely. We didn't start here. We were at Savile House, sorry.
Quite similar name, don't they?
Yeah, Savile House in St Mary's Square, which is in the middle of town. But we were very fortunate to be able to buy this place. It will be 5 years in October we've been here, so we've had plenty of winners out of here, and it's a super place to train. Literally at the bottom of Warren Hill, all the facilities on hand, so it's great.
And in the 5 years that you've been here now, do you find yourself progressing in terms of not just training winners, but the horses that you're getting as well? Absolutely.
I mean, we've got much better. Seemingly better stock each year. I mean, we've got some fantastically supportive owners. The Sarka family the last 2 years have been, given us a real chance of getting some better horses. They've been fantastic supporters of the yard, and their son Daniel, he's our assistant trainer as well, so it's working very well.
So I was at the University of Warwick doing a biology degree.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then my parents bought a share in a horse for Midland Park, and it just sort of blossomed from there. And slightly wrongly, instead of university lectures, I was going and working for Jamie Lloyd at Far Westfield Farm. And then I went and did the National Stud Diploma course, and I'd like to think I landed on my feet here at Henry's, to be honest. I'd always liked animals, hence the biology degree, but horses just sort of, I don't know, I felt a slight connection to them in a way, I suppose. They're very good for keeping you happy and keeping you calm, and at uni that's what I needed, to be honest. You go from working in labs to working with horses, and it just gives you a nice balance in life, I suppose.
I get the feeling from talking to you, you're delighted to be working for a trainer like Henry.
Yeah, I love it. It's not a job when I come in every day and I enjoy what I do. Like, I come in and feed at 5:30 in the mornings, 5 o'clock, but the sun's up and it's sunny and the horses are always happy to see me, so it's great.
I always think if you're up at 5:30 with a smile on your face, then you must be doing a job that you like.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing else I'd get out of bed that early for, if I'm going to be honest.
I mean, I think people very, very much underestimate how difficult this job is, you know, to produce these horses for the day. And, you know, like I said, we've had a lot more investment the last couple of years, mainly thanks to the Sarka family. But it has, you know, it is very difficult to compete at the sales. You know, you look at the average in Book 1 yearling sales, nearly 300,000. I mean, you know, we just don't have those owners to compete with that level, and it is very difficult. You know, I think people again underestimate how difficult it is to win any race. I mean, you know, a lot of our winners have been at Chelmsford, but that's where I feel the horses can win their race, and you know, the prize money's better. It's 45 minutes down the road, you know, with the cost of travelling and whatever else.
Well, prize money makes a huge difference, of course.
It makes sense, yeah. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I'd love to be running 10 horses at Royal Ascot, but, you know, you don't have the ammunition, that's where you've got to go.
In terms of aims and ambitions, targets for you, what would they be if you had to name a couple?
I mean, yeah, I'd love to have a Royal Ascot winner would be very high on the agenda, a black type winner would be very high on the agenda, and just to keep building the business, the yard, our ownership group, and you know, just keep progressing.
So we've been to 2 trainers in Newmarket, ensconced and settled into the life here at HQ, and I've come up to Side Hill Gallops here on the most beautiful of days. Picturesque would be an understatement. To speak to one of the youngest and newest trainers in Newmarket, Ben Brookhouse, son of course of Roger, whose famous pink and blue silks have garnered so much success over the years. Let's see, can Ben emulate that success in the training ranks?
Well, I originally studied to be a mechanic. You know, Dad runs a big engineering firm, and one fateful car put me off that. And the horses were always outside, and I just kind of started dabbling with the horses. I was always going to the races with Dad when I was younger, and you know, it brought about a lot of enjoyment for him and a lot of enjoyment for me. You know, you always felt that you backed more winners when you pick them by the colours, you know. And then sort of wanted to just dabble in it. Got into the Northern Racing College, and then bumped into a good friend of Dad's at Worcester one day, Ian Williams, and he said when I finished to come down to his place, and it went from there. You know, he was like a second father to me. You know, I went back there and was assistant to Ian after that. You know, went away, learnt my trade in Ireland for a bit with Jim Bolger, Henry de Bromhead, Owen Griffin. Came home, spent a bit of time in Newmarket with Hugo, and then went back to Ian Williams as assistant for 5 years.
Facilities-wise and in terms of having a strong team, that all comes together to help towards inevitable success, I would imagine.
Yeah, you know, I set up to let the only fault in the plan, touch wood, be me or the horse. You know, I pay decent wages, I've got decent staff, I've got top-notch facilities, I use what I think is the best feed and some of the best vets in Newmarket. And, you know, I kind of said, if I can't make it happen, then I'm not very good, you know, and that's it, you know, I retire if it doesn't happen. And you know, could have been a brief training career, but yeah, no, touch wood, we're doing all right. The staff are fantastic. You've got to have the staff, you know. There's a very true saying that a good rider can't make a bad horse go faster, but a bad rider can make a good horse go slower. So, you know, and I've got a couple of older members of staff, and they've been fantastic for giving me advice on where to go. You know, I spent a lot of January walking gallops and September walking gallops, trying to assess what's the best place to go, best thing to do. And then, you know, it's always the old, a very wise man once told me, you know, you get the horses fit and the pedigree will do the rest. You know, once they're fit, it's very simple, straightforward stuff. But getting them fit, you know, that's the interesting part.
And given that your dad is so heavily involved in plenty of the horses in your yard, do you feel that there is an extra pressure, that it is your own father who wants the results to come from you?
It does, yeah. We're much more open with each other than probably, you know, an owner-trainer relationship would be. just because we're father and son. You know, there's no holes barred. Sometimes if he wants to say something, you tell me, and sometimes it's what you need to hear. Sometimes we disagree on it. He's been in the game, you know, a lot longer than me, and he has his ideas on his horses. But you know, horses are a conclusion of sort of everything they've been trained for and been through. You know, so Champagne City, we had the opinion that he doesn't stay 2 miles, and he doesn't like soft ground. He won round Pontefract over 2 miles 2 on soft ground, with cheek pieces on as well. Yes. So you know, it's all about how you train them. You know, we try and get long, steady canters into some of the stayers and that. And Champagne City's a fantastic lead horse, so he does bits of everything. You know, he's galloping on the grass over 5 furlongs with 2-year-olds, and then he's schooling. You know, he schooled the day before he went to Pontefract over French hurdles, and then he schooled the day after he went to Pontefract over hurdles as well. You know, he's a dude of a horse. So yeah, it does provide a bit more extra pressure, because he's had results and he expects results, so I've got to provide them.
As luck goes, a winner in listed company. What a tremendous feeling that must have been in your first season to get a listed success on the board.
Yeah, that was a good day. I remember still getting back and still being in a bit of shock about that. You know, it was Jack said to me after, he said, I had loads of horse left, and I just kind of thought, you know, it was good. You know, it was only a couple of days after Sarsens had gone to Doncaster and pretty much dragged Robbie Dunn to the second last, still hard on the bridle, which was my first winner, which I thought he'd go well that day, but the manner in which he did it sort of left me speechless. So I didn't quite appreciate it at the time. You know, it was to see him, you know, swinging off the bridle, coming to the second last. Still, you're just hoping they get over the second last and the last, and I was just, it's all a bit of a blur from there. You know, I was in shock with him.
How special is it generally to train winners for your dad?
Yeah, it's very special. He hasn't actually been at the races yet when I've had a winner.
Oh really?
No, not yet. I was half hoping we might have a fairy tale at Aintree with As Luck Goes, but it didn't work out that way. I think his wind caught him in the last furlong, which was a new problem that came to light 2 weeks before he went there. And to be fair, the ground dried up pretty quickly from what it was the day before, which would have suited him. But no, it is special to give him a winner. It's the phone call afterwards, you know, ring him up and says, well, did you like that? You know, it's good, you know, it's very good. But then also sometimes we have disagreements before the race. He thinks it shouldn't be running, I think it should be. What form of the horse is in, you know, we've had them conversations already, and I've only had a licence since middle of December. You know, coming up to Aintree, had a couple that got well and truly stuffed, which did worry me. And then Champagne City is a bit of an old monkey, and he was down to run over a trip that we weren't sure would suit him, on ground that we weren't sure would suit him, and I thought, I really could do with not running you today. But he pulled out the fire. You know, them old boys, they know when they're needed, and he proved we're still in good form, and I'm convinced the horses are in good form because we keep a close eye on them. And yeah, no, it's good.
Finally, Ben, I want to touch on what you want to achieve in racing yourself going forward, because as a young and ambitious trainer, I'm sure there are plenty of targets you have in mind. What would some of those be?
My favourite race has always been the long distance hurdle at Cheltenham. I'd love to try and win that. I think it just takes a horse that's well balanced, well educated, well minded, you know, with an engine. My favourite horse was always Big Bucks. I thought for a horse like him to do what he was doing was unreal. You know, he had a strong mentality, and he was strong body, obviously, to come back and do it year after year. I mean, I remember the only horse I thought was ever going to beat Big Bucks was Grand Cru, and he gave it a good go one year, but he didn't do it. So I'd love to win a long distance hurdle at Cheltenham, but that's just a personal preference. We're here to train what we've got and produce as many winners as we can, and give any owner that comes along an enjoyable experience, and yeah, just enjoy it, really. You know, I didn't set up to do anything else, you know.
That's it for the latest edition of This Racing Life. We've been through the winding streets of HQ, and what an exciting time it is for Newmarket, with 3 trainers who are real up-and-comers: Kevin Philippart Foy, Henry Spiller and Ben Brookhouse too. We wish them all the best in their travails going forward, and how exciting it is that they are so ambitious about their training careers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all again very soon.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.